SeaWorld is going to be set up right here. SeaWorld seems like fun, harmless entertainment where you get to watch animals in marine shows and watch aquatic animals live in their natural habitat. It is a very popular attraction, and if you went to Orlando, there's a large possibility you've been there. When I was 10, I visited a theme park and I thought all of these things were true. But the truth is, animals are abused and held in unfair confinement in the captivity of the park. Over 4.5 million people go to SeaWorld a year and do not realize the harm being done. Today, I'm going to tell you about the horrible tanks, the bad health conditions, and the premature death rates that happen while at SeaWorld. First, I'm going to tell you about the safety with the tanks. Like people, frustration and psychological issues can happen in animals. Imagine living in a massive, never-ending ocean and then being captured and stuck in a small pool for the rest of your life. Being captive is emotionally straining. In 20 years, SeaWorld's animals have been reasons that 4 humans have been killed. The article Future of SeaWorld by Katie Javanad states that the behavior of Tilikum, an orca involved in several attacks, may be interpreted as aggressive. His behavior suggests growing and unmanageable levels of frustration at being held captive. The Whale and Dolphin Conservation WCD charity has calculated that SeaWorld's orcas would need to circulate their enclosures 1,400 times to swim the distance that they normally would in the wild. Repetitive behavior leads to severe psychological distress. This happens in humans and in animals. In captive animals, though, it is called zoochosis. The tanks already seem bad enough with psychological facts, but there are also physical issues that come to play. Normally in nature, orcas and dolphins live in pods. These are social structures that never change. Your entire life you will be with your same family, and the families are done naturally. But mothers and calves are never supposed to be separated, and that's not how SeaWorld does it. The pods are artificial here. So the natural communication within a pod is off and turns into competition. This leads to aggression, which turns into injury, according to Sleepless in SeaWorld by Pediatrics. According to SeaWorldofHurt.com, SeaWorld captured 2 sharks from the ocean and put them in an enclosure. In 3 days, they ran into a wall, sunk to the bottom, and died. These tanks are of insufficient depth. This causes a dorsal fin collapse, 100% in male orcas. The women are also 95% more likely to have a dorsal fin collapse in a tank than in the ocean. It is extremely dangerous for this. I told about the harmful effects of tanks, but there are more health risks that I'm going to tell you about. SeaWorld likes to say that they are helping out the animals, putting them in the park, but the animals do not agree. Malnourishment is commonly found in captive creatures. The amount of money that orcas generate with their shows should get them a comparative diet to what they would eat in the wild, but they only get frozen fish. The lack of hunting already promotes issues with instincts being thrown off, but in the wild they eat seals and now they only get frozen fish. This leads to a lack of proper nutrition. According to Javanad, bacterial infections are another common health issue. The veterinarians are extremely common with bacterial infections because they are so common. They just pour antibiotics into the tank, which seems like it would fix it, but they are such powerful antibiotics they lead to even worse skin conditions, which needs more treatment. For example, Orca costata suffered from a bacterial infection for 10 years that only got worse until she died. Many issues happen and many health conditions in the tanks are bad, but the worst part about SeaWorld is the survival rates of the animals. According to The Fate of Orcas by uswhales.org, in the wild, male orcas live 50 to 60 years, and female orcas live 80 to 90. The maximum age at SeaWorld has been 12 years. Shamu died at the age of 10, Suman, age of 12, and the absolute worst was Nayar, age of 2, orca. Also, 12 dolphins were took from the wild and put into captivity. In 6 months, 6 of them had died. The survival of the babies and the babies inside the mother are also horrible. Nayun, a blue whale abducted at the age of 6. He was used for artificial insemination and was removed from the water 42 times to collect sperm. When these babies were born, all 6 of them died at birth or very shortly after. Nayun finally died at the 43rd time of being kept out of the tank when his jaw was shattered. Tekayara, another orca, this one was artificially inseminated. She was separated from her mom and her 2 children that she had previously had. She had all of her babies that were artificially inseminated die. Her 1 daughter died at the age of 3 months old. Still, endless amounts of horror and more to come are due to Seaworld if the doors keep staying open. Seaworld captivity and places like it are not healthy and they are not necessary torment. Animals are brutally stolen out of the wild and placed into small, horrible captivity. The small tanks, the health problems, and the premature death are reason enough that this is not healthy and should not be for entertainment. It is torture that will hopefully no longer go unrecognized.